Okay, so we are now going into the next game, which is going to be Kissel versus Kimberly on Amplus, which is this is round 6. So again, a slightly different map. Amplus probably my least favourite ladder map, after possibly Styx, which I think is almost everybody's least favourite ladder map.
Yeah, that's fair. I hate Styx so much.
That Styx is not well loved, not well loved at all. But yeah, this map, one of the more recent additions to the ranked queue, very different in style from the others. Much larger map, a lot more metal, naval between the two bases, but a lot of metal outside of the reach.
It's the skull map. It's gonna be fun.
Oh, I see. Yes, okay.
That's the only way I know. Most of these maps, I don't even know their names. I mean, Berg, it can go by Odin. Forge, it can go by Hephaestus. I just know them by how they look. And this is Skull. This is the Skull map. That's Skull Island in the middle. That's going to be probably one of the biggest things that will be contested on this map. Is just who gets control of the skull. It's basically King of the Hill, just for players that love to play some RTS.
Okay, yes, the love of the skull. The interesting balance, again, it's like me, so it's a balance between how much to do with the land, how much to do with the water, but land potentially being a bigger factor here. I think a lot of players favour the tier 1 naval, not necessarily seeing a tech up to tier 2 just because the main base is so close to the shore. But it's a much more recent map, and I see players playing this one quite differently from one another. It feels like people haven't decided exactly how it plays. Some people go heavy air because it's so big, and I've seen others go mass docks, but everybody goes naval eventually.
I agree completely. I know, at least from what I've seen, for a lot of players, usually they kind of do like a little bit of a tip the fedora at the naval. They don't really want to go mass naval because it's very easy to build up some walls, put some torpedo launchers in, and you need to get basically tier 2 or some form of pelters to just get rid of those things. So I agree completely. Well, what are you a big fan of? Are you more of a fan of the mass air or the docks? Personally, I'm a bit of a mass docks person with some air fabric expansion, but of course with the Skull Island, if you can get control of that sweet succulent metal, it doesn't really matter if you go either one, just because it's that great economy that you have.
I'm more of a fan of the aggressive naval play, actually, because I don't feel very comfortable with air. I'm not a great air player, and I think people who love the air find that they can really excel with it here. But it's not for me, so I go more with on the dock side. But it's very tricky if someone takes control of the air, and you've gone all docks, that could be quite bad for you. A few bombing runs and suddenly your huge army's just disintegrated. So everyone has to have some kind of air presence at least to stop that from happening.
Definitely. It looks like Kimberly will be going immediately for that Skull Island, trying to get control of that, while Kiesel's going for the more kind of logical, just expand out, grab the 3 metal that's kind of more in the actual planet itself, and just kind of take control over that. Now, we do see, it looks like Kiesel is going to be going a little bit of everything. He's got some bots, he just finished the bot factory, he's got some of the air. He's about to build the air, and then he will be working into the naval, while it looks like Kimberly's going for a lot more of a... Well, it looks like he's going for more economy. It's not really a... we don't really see much out of the build queues.
Well, interestingly, Kissel has a lot of energy factories queued up along the shore. He's going to be using them as a wall, so that if someone does manage to try to sneak to an orc or a narwhal, it's going to be those energy factories absorbing the shots, rather than these precious production or metal extractors that should get hit.
Now, they could be hinting towards mass air because of the just huge, exuberant amounts of energy that the air produces or needs just to produce. So, you might be building this wall as a safeguard, and then just immediately going for a mass air play once most of it, if not some of it, is completed.
I would expect to see a heavier air presence from Kissel. I think anyone from PA Gods is generally going to be playing a lot of air. And I know he's been doing some practice sessions with Klops earlier, and Klops definitely favours air on this type of map. And so I expect to see Kissel going heavier air, and Kimberly perhaps going more on the naval side, perhaps mixed in with some ground efforts. It's going to get tricky for Kissel. It's going to get tricky for Kimberly as it goes on, just because expanding under that kind of heavy air existence is very difficult.
Normally, what I would say then in that situation, if he does feel like this just air pressure is just way too much, send out 1 or 2 fabricators and just have them start building just stupidly placed anti-air turrets. Like, why would there be an anti-air turret, right here in the middle of this base? well, there's some metal there, sure. But, you know, if the air just happens to fly by, you're going to lose a bomber or two. And that's really the easiest way to kind of bring down the air army, is just constantly keep just poking and chipping at it. Because the biggest thing about a lot of air players is once they get control of that air army, it just snowballs. You can never really go toe-to-toe with it unless you catch it in a really unfavorable position. Maybe they just happen to fly over 400 narwhals, you know, something silly like that. But with the air turrets, you can just put them out. You know, it's a nice, easy, cheesy something to put out, and you can really get some good connections. Now, this air bomber, though, going to do huge,
Ouch.
killing off all those docks. Well, not all, but at least most of them. And it looks like Kimberly just wasn't really expecting this, but oh my goodness, that bomber went big, saving all the docks that Kiesel had before even having to lose too many of them.
Yeah, that was some poor play by Kimberly there. Had those docks queued up under the shore, and they didn't keep them moving. And docks that aren't moving are docks that are going to die, especially on a map where you know your opponent's got this much air, and Kimberly's air nowhere to be seen. But I think Kimberly only has the one air factory. Yep, another one coming online now, but Kiesel's had 2 air factories from pretty early on, and is really putting that to good use.
In this case, I really do like Kimberly's decision to just say, you know, forget the bots, I'm going to go vehicles, get the anti-air, just vehicles to spinners, sorry. You know, I just call them, they just drive around with the giant mobile turrets on their backs, I guess, and, you know, that's all they're really good for. But the bombing pressure, the poke pressure and the bombing raid here from Kiesel is going to be absolutely huge, and that's, again, that's why I really like the idea of just throwing out stupidly weird anti-air turrets, just so that it doesn't, you know, it keeps map control over what should be a very bomber-controlled game.
Well, I mean, Kiesel smartly has got the docks out as well early on, so even if the anti-air turrets go up where he can't send his air, he's going to send his docks force instead. And by committing to vehicles, that's going to give Kimberly some better base busting power. But the problem is, it's not very mobile composition, and the mechs on this map are quite well spread out. So Kimberly's going to have to push hard and fast, because as this match goes on, he's going to fall behind in terms of eco. And we see now he's starting to slip behind Kiesel because Kiesel can just raid him better.
Effectively just playing right into what Kiesel wants. Or Kiesel, excuse me. Not to form with the proper name of these very well-endowed gentlemen.
Yes, it's Kiesel, dear boy. Kiesel.
My apologies,
Kiesel,
dear
actually?
boy.
No,
My apologies.
I might be wrong. It might be Kiesel. So apologies to the players for massacring their names. But yeah, we see now that Kiesel is slowly pulling ahead now. He's got a bit of a lead there in terms of economy, taking a substantial lead in terms of army, and the fabric count is ridiculous difference there. And again, just like against Wonderbolt, Kiesel is now pretty much everywhere.
I was gonna say, this literally, I mean, colors and player-wise, this is effectively just a Wonderbolt versus Kiesel match from last game. I mean, Kiesel just seems to be everywhere at once, and while Kimberly, aka Wonderbolt, you know, he's trying as much as he can. It's just, there's docks here raiding your backyard. Oh, look at that. Your docks that were just sitting here being rallied are getting killed off by some bombers. Oh, you got a big Oracle Forest? That's great. There's some narwhals here waiting for you, and a commander. You're moving out with your tanks? Here's some docks. You know, Kiesel's micro has just been fantastic, especially on these larger maps, such as Duat last game, and this map, now here on Ampulus.
Well, we see, again, Kiesel's APM ahead of Kimberly for most of the time. It's just maintaining such a high VM in terms of managing all these different fronts, all these different units, and Kimberly keep rallying those docks to the skull, where really
it's bothering me.
Yeah, they're just constantly dying to bombers, and there's no air cover. And at this point, it's a case of why keep sending them there? If they're going to die, you haven't got the air cover. You can't have docks just standing there. At best, you should be area patrolling them, which we now see Kimberly starting to do.
But the problem is they're patrolling into the water, and docks don't shoot that well underwater.
Well, they're also run into these metal extractors, which immediately means they stop their patrol. We see some naval.
I mean, that might be better anyways, because they're going to die.
Some naval coming out from Kimberly now, but Kiesel's not on this, and in actual fact, smartly sending his barracudas up front, which are going to be able to take out those orcas without loss.
I guess I just need to respect this naval idea, because apparently this is what the cool kids do. I'm all about that bot and air expansion, but apparently the right thing to do is go for this tier 2 naval, because now Kiesel is starting this up, albeit kind of early. I mean, I like to see tier 2 maybe around the 11-12 minute mark, when, you know, I guess the dust is settled, the metaphorical dust is settled, and you know what your opponent's doing, your opponent knows what you're doing. You can really kind of start playing into that mind game set. And, you know, it's surprising, 15 minutes, oh, guess what, we got tier 2 already showing up. But These Barracudas, they're doing some good work against things that don't exactly shoot torpedoes.
Yeah, just Kimberly, and again, they didn't turn that around. I mean, it's the troops just marching to the death for absolutely no reason, and those docks are still rallying to that same spot. It's not time for
I want to see the counter at how many docks have been lost to just bombers this match alone, because well, Kimberly does have an air force, but Kiesel's is quite literally larger.
I think we're just seeing again that Kisel's just got such amazing ability to just take map control here. He really is everywhere, and Kimberly is really struggling to handle this. You see that Kimberly's sending his docks to one place, his vehicles to another place, and Cassell he's got docks here, he's got docks there, he's got docks over there, he's got some vehicles, he's got naval, he's just could be in so many places, and Kimberly just can't keep up.
Now, one thing that I would like to mention, Kiesel has been actually back expanding. I was trying to figure out where he was getting all this extra metal besides just kind of this forward aggression that he's really doing. He has been expanding, and especially in a match like this, even if you're winning, always go for that extra step to guarantee, okay, I'm winning here, let's get tier 2 out, as he's doing now with the naval. Let's get some bots out, start controlling what should be another expansion probably over here for that also much closer metal. There is an anti-air turret up here, so this bomber's gonna see it, but then die immediately, and no damage lost. Now that's exactly why I would like the factory, because he's only got one Fabra there, and trying to get another one over there with all this air flying around would be probably very hard.
Well, Cassell clearly feeling very comfortable with this tier 2 naval approach that he's taking. I'm not sure it's really necessary. I think it'd be better off just investing in more tier 1. I don't think he needs to take up and go tier 2 to take this win, and if anything, it seems to be just delaying him a bit. But we see him now slowly pushing up with his navy, being very cautious, but to be perfectly honest, and he's starting to move in, possibly. And I think
he's definitely posturing for sure.
He's got enough, I think, that he can go in there and maybe, if not win, do some serious damage. He should go in with the Barracudas first, just mop up this Orca force, perhaps do a little better scouting with his air force than he did. But yeah, Kimberly's looking incredibly contained, can't even take the metal just outside of his base.
The map control of Kiesel is absolutely fantastic. Don't know what else to say about it. I think we've harped on it this game, we've harped on it since last game. But those Orcas did kill off the Narwhals. The thing is, though, I have noticed this, vision-wise, there's actually not that much vision that the players can see, so while we can see that, obviously this is a horrible trade for Kimberly, he definitely shouldn't be trying to move in against those Orcas. Found out, as I was looking at the vision, Kimberly was basically found out that there were some Barracudas in front of him as they came in to kill him, so definitely needed some more radar, needed some sort of vision to just try and get some idea of what's going on here, because again, there's another bot army that is actually going to start running towards some mountains and then die off. It's going to find the Leviathan as they're killing them, but that's all that they've been really good for so far.
Well, we saw that perhaps that naval attack wasn't as effective as it should have been. I think that's just could have used those troops a little more effectively than he did. But again, Kimberly's still not starting to try and break out with some air fabrics. Very risky play, and indeed Cassell now closing in with his docks to these 3 air fabrics that are expanding, and I think we're going to see those go down, and with them perhaps the hopes and dreams of Kimberly. On the front though, and tanks pushing in now from Cassell's also gone tanks, but winning all of the battles on the land. Kimberly had a naval presence first, I think, but didn't really push in with it. And yes.
There it is. Well, I think that's kind of the nail in the metaphorical coffin there, Chief. I think he's feeling it. Kiesel kind of knows it. He's gonna try, but we'll see. We'll see what he can do.
Yeah, I don't see. I don't see good outcome here. And yeah, there's the
GG.
The GGs for Kimberly, who unfortunately did not fare any better than Wonderful and got shut down. I think it's hard to point to any specific mistake. I think it's simply that Giselle used what he had better than Kimberly did. I don't think Kimberly's approach was particularly
I think
bad.
that's fair, yeah. It was definitely a very, I don't want to say identical, because they definitely opened up differently, but Kimberly with a good decision to open up with the bots into the air, and then actually moving out with the naval. It's just, I think, as she sort of typed in, it's just getting that extra APM to just, micro the bots that were getting picked off by the bombers all the time. There was probably a good, I want to say 30 docks that were lost just because of Miss Micro.
Yeah, I think he, perhaps the early naval presence was a mistake from him, and the air presence from Cassell I think was the real decider here, because There was a lot of docks on the field from Kimberly, but he couldn't use them because they just got bombed to death, and he simply couldn't take out the Air Force of Cassell, because Cassell had gone for 2 early air factories to Kimberly's 1, got a substantial air advantage, and Kimberly took too long to respond. I think on Amplus you've really got to find out how many, indeed on many maps in PA really, you've got to have an idea of how many air factories has your opponent gone for, and build about as many as they've done. Unless it's a really contained map like Forge, where you can just go with spinners in your tank force. Amplus is way too spread out for that. You've got to be able to match them in the skies before you can beat them on the land.